Hello, it's Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm here to talk with you about my 2020 reading plans, goals, aspirations, themes, ideas, all that good stuff. So I love this time of year. I'm a planner, so I really like to take the moment to reflect and think about all the great things that I've been able to accomplish this year, areas that maybe I didn't live up to what I would hope for, and then start making a plan for next year. I think I'm a typical American in the sense that I like progress. I like setting a hard goal and then accomplishing it, and all of those types of things. So when I think about goals, I will be participating in the Goodreads challenge again this year. I've been doing that for many years. I think I've been on Goodreads for over a decade. And I log every single book that I read, and I even keep track of the progress as I'm going through. And I love it. I have it on my phone, and it's something that I do frequently because I read every single day. So I'm always updating it. And when I look back on the best year that I ever had, it was 2016, and I read 222 books, which was such a monumentous leap forward from the previous years. And it was because I started to read non-monogamously. I started to read in multiple books at the same time and in different styles. So I was listening to an audiobook, reading a digital book, and then a physical book. And that just opened the floodgates for how much I was able to read. I thought it would slow me down, but it actually accelerated and unlocked something for me. So I really thought that was probably going to be the best year that I ever had until I reached retirement, when I have nothing but time. But ironically, this year I exceeded that. And I exceeded it not just with numbers, but also with the quality of the books I was reading and the depth with which I was reading them. So it has been a remarkable year, and I credit BookTube. So in two ways, I credit BookTube. The first one is by having to discuss books, I need to be a little bit more present and thoughtful about what I've read and be a little more critical. Whereas I didn't really have any people to talk to about books in the way that I do now. And so it wasn't as important. Now it's really important. And then the second is through doing buddy reads. When you're reading with somebody, you really want to be able to add something interesting to the conversation. And so because of that, I read more critically, I read with more interest, and picking things out that I would otherwise have just kind of skimmed over. And I'm challenging myself to read more diversely and more backlist. So I've always read diversely from own voices perspective and translated fiction, but the material hasn't been as in-depth as it is now. I never would have done Victober. I never would have gone back and read a classic, and it's enriched my life so much. So thank you so much, BookTube, for kind of encouraging me to step on this journey. So next year, I plan on putting my number where it's always been, which is 150. I have been able to do that for many years, so I'll probably still do that. So, but I'm gonna focus less on the number, and instead think about my reading a little differently. I'm going to be a judge for the BookTube Prize next year, so I'm looking forward to seeing which rounds I get to judge in, and I think that will help give me an opportunity to read some of the contemporary novels that have been in the debate and in the milieu that I haven't been able to get to this year. So that'll be a great opportunity. I also have my In Real Life book club. I'll put a link to my a video that I made with Nikki and Lydia down below. We read from the short lists of prizes. So we read the Booker shortlist as well as the National Book Award shortlist. We've been a little disappointed with the National Book Award shortlist in the past few years. There's been some real clunkers in there. And so we're going to switch it up this year, and we're going to continue with the Booker shortlist. We are going to add the Booker International shortlist so that we can read more works in translation. And we're also going to add the Women's Prize shortlist. And so I think those are going to be great additions to our book club reading. And I think with the BookTube Prize, as well as the In Real Life Book Club, I think I'll be reading a lot of contemporary fiction for next year, so that's wonderful. Now, of my own books, I want to focus on collections, some of my own collections, kind of read your own books kind of thing, because that's another thing that comes with BookTube is all of a sudden you're exposed to so many more books and you start to acquire. So I still focus on acquiring from used bookstores and independent bookstores, but some of them I can't find, and I do use Book Depository, which has been wonderful. And so I have now a good collection of books that I need to get through. So behind me, these green books here are the Virago modern classics, and so I have a nice collection going. I'd like to read through some of these and start to put a dent there. I also have my Persephones that I purchased from my last trip. Some of them I had already from random places, but I'd like to spend a little bit more time getting through some of those. I also have Faber short stories. I've read through the first set, and they just published a new collection, so I want to read through those. And I also have the Penguin Little Black Classic editions, and so I'd like to work my way slowly through those, and those are very thin, like the Faber stories. So those would be nice palate cleansers to jump into. And then I have some authors that I'm starting to collect their work that I want to spend more time with. So let me show you some of those. First up is Muriel Sparks. So I've been very interested in her oeuvre. I've read The Prime of Miss Jane Brodie, and I've read The Driver's Seat and Memento Mori. And through those three books, I realized I really like her voice, I like her material, and I like how she writes. And so I'd like to spend more time with some of her other books I have. I have The Ballad of Peck and Rye, I have Loitering with Intent, and Aiding and Abetting. I also just ordered another one of her books that comes in this series. These covers are magnificent. And so I've been trying to grab them when I can find them. So that's one grouping. Another grouping is Deborah Levy. I have read Hot Milk and absolutely adored it. Thought it was sublime. So interesting, so hypnotic, a little disturbing, odd, so smart, clever. So really interested in reading more from her. The second book I read of hers was nonfiction, and it blew my mind. It was Things I Don't Want to Know. This is about her childhood, and I just loved this book so much. And so I have other books that I need to get to in her list. I just read The Man Who Saw Everything and thought it was fantastic. Gave it 4 stars. You'll hear about it in my week of reading update later this week on Friday. But I don't have that book yet, so I need to go out and buy it. Funny story, when I was in London, I was at the London Review of Books and at their bookstore, and I saw they had a first edition signed, but it was the UK cover, and I just hate it. I really don't like that UK cover. And I posted something on Instagram like, ooh, what do I do? Do I buy this because it's signed first edition, or in a cover that I hate, or do I wait and get a cover that I want in the United States knowing it won't be a signed copy? And I decided to wait and get the cover I want because covers really matter to me. So I don't have it. I need to go get it. These are the ones I do have, and I have another one coming from Book Depository. I have The Cost of Living. This is another one of her nonfiction that I need to read. This is a very small, maybe novella, Swallowing Geography. Black Vodka, which I looking forward to reading. And I have The Unloved. Swimming Home is on its way from Book Depository. Should be getting that soon. So I'd love to make a make a bigger dent in her work and start to compare and contrast all of her books. Then I have, I'd like to make my way through these beauties. These are the Rachel Cusk collection that I've been slowly getting. I have Coventry. It's in the other room. I'm reading that currently. That is her book of essays. I have read Outline, loved it. I still have Transit and Kudos to read. I've been kind of saving those for the right time. I also have Aftermath, A Life's Work, The Country Life, and Arlington Park to read. So far I really like her voice. I had a chance to meet and talk with her, and she's so smart and so interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of making some way in this. Another thing that I'm interested in doing, and I'll actually be hosting a read along later on in the year, so more late summer for this, and I want to read the quartet. So I have winter and spring here. I need to get autumn. So my UK friends, please, if you find the hardcover Haywood Hill edition with the wrapping, the David Hockney cover wrapping in hardcover, reach out to me because I'd love to get it. I'll send you shipping information and some postage. So if you have the hardcover for autumn, I'm looking for that. She's going to be publishing summer this next year, and what I want to do is do a read along of all of the books together, the quartet, because my understanding is there are themes that are interwoven as Ali Smith does, and I think that her work is the kind of work that really, really does well to read with other people and to have other perspectives and other points of view. So look for a read along of that probably in August, September timeframe. Yeah, and then I have this collection that I was introduced to by Sean the Book Maniac in his channel. He talked about this, and I saw these when I was in London last at Scoob. Great used bookstore. I'm sad that the covers are not of the same edition, but that just gives me a treasure hunt, right? So this is the Cora Sandel, Alberta and Jacob, Alberta and Freedom, and Alberta Alone. I'm very much looking forward to reading these because I heard so many great things, and then in reading information about her, saw some interesting material about this, so I have very high hopes. And then I also want to continue to read the Mitford sisters' works. So I'm collecting, I have already read The Mitford Girls, the biography of the Extraordinary Family by Mary S. Lowell. I also have the following books to read. This is Nancy Mitford collection: Madame de Pompadour, Love in a Cold Climate, Wigs on the Green, The Pursuit of Love, which I have read, The Blessing, Christmas Pudding, and Don't Tell Alfred. So those are all Nancy's books. I have Hans and Rebels by Jessica Mitford. She is the youngest, so Nancy's the oldest, and Jessica is I think the youngest, if not near the end of the group. She is the communist that ended up leaving the UK and moving to the United States and living in Oakland. So this is one of her books. I need to get some of her other books. I do have letters of Jessica Mitford. This is Decca. So each of them had nicknames. Decca was her nickname. And right now I am making my way slowly through Letters Between Six Sisters, the Mitfords. Fascinating. So all these put together really provide a really compelling story. I have, coming from Book Depository, the letters between Evelyn Waugh and Nancy Mitford, which I hear are really interesting. They both have like this kind of snappy, witty repartee. Looking forward to that. So those are my kind of author collections that I want to get through. Then I have buddy reads. So I am going to be a participant in the buddy read of the Hilary Mantel trio. So we have the new one that's coming out in March. And this is being held, I think Jason from Old Blues Chapter and Verse is going to be hosting it. I think he's still going to be doing that. We're starting in January with Wolf Hall, and then Bring the Bodies is in February in anticipation of the third book in March. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm scared but excited. So the very first thing that I'm going to host will be a read-along of my very favorite book, the book I read, very first book I read any new year, and that is 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. This is a book, an epistolary book, and this is a true story, and it's about the relationship between a woman in New York City and the friends that she makes at a bookstore in London at 84 Charing Cross Road. There's still a plaque there. The bookstore no longer exists, but this is heartwarming, charming. It is a book lover's book. It just reminds you of everything that's important in life, and it's the best book to kick off your new year and to start your reading journey with a bang. And it's like tiny, it's like 97 pages, but it packs a wallop. So I'm going to host the read along. I'll probably put a little something on YouTube, but I usually do it on Instagram. And so if you'd like to follow along and post and read it with me, and then post any photos or videos or anything, use the hashtag 84 Charing Cross Road NYD for New Year's Day 20. Perfect, we'll do that. And then last year I followed it up with the Duchess of Bloomsbury Street. This is her follow-up of a trip that she made. I think this year I'm going to follow it up with Q's Legacy. Now, Q's Legacy is a book that I have yet to read, and I'm really excited. Helene Hanff was self-educated, so she was, like so many of us on BookTube, someone who just loved books, and she came across this professor and was so entranced with what he talked about and how he discussed literature and books and nonfiction that she started following his collection, and she used his syllabuses and his notes as her library and started following and wanting to read what he talked about. And so that's very much about how I operate and work. And so I'm really looking forward to following up 84 Charing Cross Road with Q's Legacy. So that'll be the first hosting that I do. I also want to open up a buddy read, two different buddy reads. Or read-alongs, maybe read-alongs is the better way to say it. The first one is I think I've mentioned before, I'm going to be going to Oxford in the summer. I study there for a week, and I'm reading 18th century women novelists this time around. And so I have 4 books that I need to read, and so I'm thinking about starting these in March. So the 4 books are. The first is Belinda by Maria Edgeworth. And this is the Oxford University Press. Belinda by Maria Edgeworth. I'll put the links below. The second one will be Radcliff. So this is Anne Radcliffe, The Romance of the Forest. The third is Charlotte Lennox, The Female Quixote. Quixote? Now, see, after reading Quixote, you've messed me up, Rushdie. Now I don't know how to pronounce it. Quixote. We'll say Quixote for Don Quixote. And then lastly is Frances Burney's Evelina. So those are the 4, and I'd like to read each one month. And so we'll have we'll have a March, April, May, and June reading, and we'll choose which one. So let me know in the comments below if you're interested in participating, and as we get closer to March, we'll formalize which one we read first and who wants to join in. And it's fine if you only want to join in for one, or if you want to join in for all four. I think it'll be interesting to kind of read them together, and I would love to read it with other people so we can all share our insights. Next up, I wanted to get into this class and I didn't make it, but I bought the books because that's who I am. So I have three books I'd like to read, and we can read this actually probably maybe later on in the year, late summer. The first one I'd like to read is Stephen Porter's Pepys, London, Everyday Life in London, 1650 to 1703. And this is by Amberley Press. And Samuel Pepys is so interesting to me because he was a diarist. He was a clerk in London, and his diaries have remained through the Great Fire, and they document the plague, the Great Plague, and the Great Fire. And he was also super catty, and he wrote all sorts of scandalous stuff about what was happening in the court, and he wrote it in code. So he thought no one could see it. Well, they cracked the code, and now we have the diaries. So I want to read this first as context. Then I want to read another book that kind of sets some background. So this is background about kind of what was going on in London. This is background about Samuel Pepys. This is Samuel Pepys, The Unequaled Self by Claire Tomalin. And this one is by Vintage. I'd love to read that with people. And then lastly, Samuel Pepys, The Diary of Samuel Pepys, a selection. And this is by Penguin Classics. And I would love to read this. So I would, maybe if we wanted to start this in late summer, maybe fall, that might be really nice. So let me know if anyone's interested in that. So with the 18th century women writers, Samuel Pepys, London, and then the Alice Smith Quartet, I think that'll be a good some good engagement with some people. Hopefully we can get a group together who might be interested. Then I also want to do Reading Rush because I really enjoyed Reading Rush. I didn't think I was very good at it, so looking forward to stepping up my game with that this year. I'm also going to be really looking forward to Victober and nonfiction, as well as Novella November. So I want to do the pairing of those because it was just fantastic. I have some ideas for some book tags that I'm looking forward to unveiling soon. And then I think most excitingly, I'm going to be doing a series, and I'm starting with Juan from Bookish Islander, and we're calling it In Deep Conversation, and it will be a series of videos, 3 videos in total, where we basically expose our buddy read insights to everyone. So we are going to be starting with the Topeka School. So we read this together, and so in the 3 videos, we will be sharing our insights as well as asking questions of each other, and then also exposing that and asking for your feedback and your thoughts on that book. That will be a book that you will need to have read to participate in the conversation, because otherwise it won't make any sense, because we're going to go deep. And so we will be spoiling and really talking about the book in depth. So please be on the lookout for that. And that's kind of it. Sounds like a lot, but I'm really excited. Again, thank you so much to the BookTube community. You've given me so much this year. I'm thrilled to be a part of it, and look forward to many more books and many more conversations in 2020. Thank you so much. Bye.